What's up, guys? Chris Brown from Train Boston coming at you with another wellness moment. Today, I want to talk to you guys about multitasking your wellness and why it doesn't work. Well, first, to get into that, I want to explain the fitness industry. In the fitness industry, we're constantly trying to improve the metrics of performance with our clients, with our patients, with our athletes. Whether it's speed, power, strength, agility, VO2 max, how lean someone is, how muscular someone is, or how much they weigh. All these things are something that we generally want to manipulate. But most people understand that you can't do all these things at once, even though they all seem to build upon each other. It's just not possible to really focus in on any one of those things at the same time with all the others. You have to sacrifice in one area just a little bit so we can work on the other and really get something done with it. Most people also realize that some individuals are better in some areas than others. For instance, a lighter, skinnier person, they're going to be better at distance running more likely. The broader, stockier guy might be just better at being a power lifter. And because of that, we may want to try to not fight against the stream. Don't try to be the fish that wants to fly or the bird that wants to swim. We want to be somewhat within our lane and try to figure out what we can do within our realm of capabilities. That aside, however, in the short term, we can manipulate what we call acute program variables to focus on our performance metrics in the fitness world. We can change the number of sets, number of repetitions, the amount of load we use, the tempo of the set, the speed of the lifts, whether we're focusing on concentric or eccentric parts of the lift, and the duration of the sets and the rest periods. There's a lot of variables we can change without sacrificing in every area. For instance, if I use a moderate to high load, say 80% of my one repetition max, we call that 1 RM, and of a squat, and do 4 to 12 repetitions with a shorter rest period for 45 to 60 seconds, I'll be working on muscular hypertrophy or muscular size. But if I lift a very heavy load at about 90 to 100% of my 1 RM, of a squat of 5 sets of 2 repetitions, and with a longer rest period, maybe 3 to 4 minutes, I'll be working on maximal strength. It's the same lift, but changing those variables changes what we focus on. But what if my athlete needs more than one thing? What if they need both things? What if they also want to get leaner? They want to work on mobility as well. They maybe can't get into IR or ER with their shoulder, and they need that for their sport. And they need to be more agile too. Again, we can't do that all at once. And if we tried to, first of all, we'd be in the gym for 5 hours, which most people aren't paying for a 5-hour training session. And you would overwhelm your system or overwhelm your client system to the point of overwhelming them. And you would end up maybe not accomplishing anything, but not only that, you might run them into the ground and give them a net negative. So what we need to do with our client, with our patient, with ourselves, is we need to periodize the training or make things like into time blocks or periods. And we need to focus on individual goals. Now, what is periodization? Well, in fitness, there's 3 types of periodization. That's a tough word to say sometimes. We have linear, we have undulating, and we have block. Each type can work well for different types of athletes. So for instance, linear, it kind of makes sense. It works well for new trainees. You just basically add on load or add on volume, make things progressively harder. We call that progressive overload. And you just kind of keep it the same. So every week you're doing the same stuff. You're just trying to increase your weights. If you succeed, you do more the next week. And that can work really well for the new person. Undulating is exactly what you'd think with the word undulating. It goes up and down. It's not quite random, but you'll change the variables daily. So one day you might work on more of a hypertrophy-based lift where you're doing the first example I gave you. And the next day you might work on a different body part and or more of a strength-based lift. And you're going to undulate those days. So basically you just take some variables, you take all the variables you need, and you kind of shift them around. This can work well for athletes who have long or almost never-ending seasons. You're going to progress them incrementally, but it's just not going to be linear. It works well for those people with the seasons that don't end and sometimes have competitions that are unpredictable because that's the only thing you really can work with those people. You just don't know how they're going to be. I find this works really well with the average person who sometimes misses a workout, sometimes doesn't. Sometimes feels bad, sometimes feels great, and just really doesn't know what's going to happen in their life. This tends to work really well for them. Block periodization works really well for athletes who have multiple peaks a year, meaning they have a lot of competitions. This is usually a more trained athlete. You don't typically do this with the newer people, but it could be done. You focus on blocks of time, usually 4 to 6 weeks, with one thing as a priority. But even among these methods, your training age will dictate how well these methods work. How hard you can challenge yourself and how much you can gain in a certain period of time will change based on how well you do the program, how good your program is, and where you're at. Are you injured? Are you recovering from injury? Are you still relatively a novice? We don't know all these things. We just know that these methods have been proven to work when followed and done consistently. So that's the key. It's always the key with the wellness talks I give to you. That kind of makes sense, doesn't it? So why don't we use these aspects and other methods and other aspects of our life with our other chain links of wellness? Why do we constantly tell people to meditate, to lift weights 4 times a week, to practice mobility drills daily, to eat 5 meals a day, prep those meals daily, to sleep 8 hours a day, make sure you get in contact with your family, play with your kids, talk to your doctor? It goes on and on and on. Why do we tell people to do every single thing, but we never tell them how to focus? If we did all that every single day, we would get fired from our jobs, our spouses would leave us, and our friends would not want to hang out with us because we'd be too busy. It would probably be a fairly miserable life. We still need all these things: quality sleep, proper mental wellness, quality respiration control, medical health, nutrition, fitness. We still need all those good things. But we also need to take them and turn them into behaviors and focus. To prevent overtraining in our wellness, that's what I'm calling it, we need to take those behaviors and we need to program them. So for instance, let's take a look at sleep, something that's really important for everybody. And we'll create some acute program variables, things that we can change and manipulate. So a couple of those things that are easy to change, that are very leverageable: duration of sleep. When do you go to bed? When do you wake up? Quality of sleep, which we get into that with the other variables, how we can change that. The amount of time spent in daylight and spent in darkness. Darkness is one of the biggest things that affects how you sleep. Temperature in your room. 68 degrees is the proper temperature to sleep at, approximately. If it's too hot or too cold, you won't sleep well. And noise. Do you have a lot of noise? Can you put some, maybe you can put some noise canceling padding or noise canceling curtains in your room. And the consistency of your pre-sleep habits. That's a big one. Doing things the same. Like I said before, doing the same stuff every night makes your body get ready for sleep every night at the same time. So you can take 1 to 2 of these variables we're lacking in and can change and come up with behaviors to fix them. You set a period of time, 4 to 6 weeks maybe, to consistently practice that habit and then write it down like a training log. You could move to the next month after that and say, hey, well, this month I'm feeling a little down. Maybe COVID has gotten me to the point where I don't feel great mentally. You can look at that and find some acute program variables, things we can change. One big thing I see is the time spent on social media directly correlates to how you feel emotionally. Pro tip: spending time on social media, probably not great for your mental wellness. You can find things that are positive and productive to do when you're not on social media, and you can get away from things that are negative and unproductive. You can spend time and quality of time talking with friends. It can be in person or digital, depending on what's going on in your life, but just doing that can help. You can spend time doing restorative motion, taking walks, doing yoga, that kind of stuff. You can meditate, whether that meditation is through yoga nidra or with a person or by yourself, just closing your eyes and breathing. You can get a massage or do enjoyable activities, playing games. Video games can be meditation. It can be mental wellness. And you could even get into this for a breakdown for every aspect of your mental wellness. It really goes on and on and on. And again, we don't want to overwhelm you. Sometimes identifying the areas like these is difficult, but that's why we have professionals to help us. My aim is not to tell you not to use your doctor, your nutritionist, your personal trainer to better help you progress. But what I'm trying to give you is a way to do something on your own once you leave their guidance. These people don't live with you. They don't hang out with you, and they might not be your best friends. It might be in some cases, but usually not. Because even when we know what we need to do to be better, we get distracted and or overwhelmed. We try to tackle too many variables at once, and sometimes these that we're trying to change are much too challenging. Organizing and periodizing this can really help. Now, this doesn't mean you can't focus on one or two variables at once. For instance, in block training, there's usually one or two things that are being focused on at the same time. Just one takes priority. You need to focus fire a bit and maintain the others. Luckily, these things in your wellness, they usually help each other. Fitness helps you sleep better, right? Better sleep makes your mental wellness better, etc., etc. So what would this look like? Well, I suggest finding a yearly calendar to help. This will be your training log. Just like if you train in a gym, you write down what you're planning to do for those 4 to 6 weeks. Well, now we got 12 months or 12 blocks to work with. Let's say we're focusing on improved sleep first. So say January, for instance, is our improved sleep month. That's our primary target. So we're going to pick 4 habits to do every week for that month. Maybe you turn your phone to silent and don't look at it by 9:30 p.m. every night. You stop eating food an hour and a half before bed because metabolism can keep us awake. You lower the temperature of your room to 68 degrees by 8 p.m. every night. And you dim the lights in your house at 8 p.m. every night. Now, the second focus could be our nutritional health. So we'll pick just 2 habits that month. And depending on how good we are with our nutrition already, we can make them easier or harder habits. So I'm putting easy ones here. Take a fish oil supplement in the morning. Eat 4 different vegetables with every dinner. And that's it. Obviously, you want to try your best at the other things, but those are the only things you have to do because they're programs. Depending on how skilled you are and your training age, how long you've been working at these kind of things, you can do more challenging skills. If you fail, though, you can always take it back, dial it down for the next time you attack that variable. Maybe next month isn't the sleep month, but you will come back to it eventually. Use this training log, this 12-month period, to form your next path. Your path may go all over the place. You may not even be able to predict it perfectly, but having the path is really important. As you succeed and fail, you'll start to identify what works best for you personally. Eventually, this kind of planning will show its rewards, and it will feel normal to do so. A lot of people hear planning and they get a little gun shy. They don't want to do it because they're afraid of failing, or maybe someone nags them to do it all the time and it gives them a bad feeling about it. Or maybe they've failed and they have a negative association with it. But we need to start to do this in our lives just to give ourselves some sense of coherency in working on our wellness. It doesn't have to be really difficult. It doesn't have to be too aggressive, but it has to be there as a framework. You will always have something to work on, and you will always fail off and on. Failure is how we learn. But this method is sure to help you, so you never stagnate, and you always are moving forward towards being happy and well. And that's really what we all want, isn't it? That's my wellness moment for this month. Until next time, guys, stay well. Thank you.